lots of questions about which one of those vaccines is best, right? And my answer to that is they're all the best, right? And I measure that because in all of those trials, nobody who received one of those COVID vaccines was hospitalized or died of COVID. That's the ultimate endpoint, right? They're very, very protective and very effective at preventing hospitalization and death. And so when people say to me, gosh, if I'm not vaccinated and I'm being offered one of these vaccines tomorrow, should I take it? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. It is the best health decision you can make for yourself at that moment of time to get any one of these 3 approved vaccines. Get that vaccination. It's the best health decision that you can make at that moment in time. It does not matter which one. They're all the best. They have all do a fantastic job. Nobody in the vaccine trials was hospitalized or died of COVID who received a vaccine. That's pretty amazing.
Thank you. And Dr. Newman, maybe you could talk a little bit about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. There's a lot of people still have a lot of questions since it's new. We've talked a lot about Pfizer and Moderna over the last several weeks, giving information about how it's the type of vaccine it is, how it works, how efficacious, I can't even say that today. Efficacious. They tease me here at the clinic because that is a word I can never say. Efficacious. Could you talk a little bit about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and help our viewers understand what to expect?
Yeah, I'll start with the how efficacious it is.
Thank you.
Because I think people are getting a little hung up on that, and there's some misconceptions about that. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine works extremely well. And the primary endpoint we're all concerned about, none of us would be here, none of us would be dealing with this pandemic if there weren't the hospitalizations and death, if it was just a mild illness. But even the trials for Moderna and Pfizer versus the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, it's not an apples to apples comparison on the efficacy, because the Moderna vaccines and the Pfizer vaccines were studied earlier in the pandemic when there was less prevalence of coronavirus in the communities. And when they look at efficacy, they look at people who received placebo, who received a sort of a fake vaccine versus somebody who received the real vaccine. And over time, they follow them to see how many in the placebo arm versus in the arm that got the real vaccine develop the disease. Well, when Johnson & Johnson was being studied, there was far more disease, there was far more prevalence of COVID. So you would expect there to be a slight difference in efficacy. But that being said, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has 66% efficacy against getting sick at all, 85% of getting significant disease, and 100% against hospitalization and death. It's an extremely good vaccine, and it has some great advantages of being a single dose. I mean, that's great. You're fully vaccinated in 2 weeks, and really receive even more. The longer you're vaccinated, you get more immunity. So that's a real good feature of this. It's very, very easy to handle. It doesn't require those ultra freezers we talked about before. So this is going to be more easily widely distributed, and it's a much more easily handled vaccine. The other advantage that it has been studied in reality against some of the new variants we've been talking about and concerned about. So it was looked at in a South African cohort, a Brazilian cohort, and it really shows good efficacy against those variants. So it really puts our mind at rest. And as Dr. McDermott showed that steep diminishment of the curve, people do talk a little bit about these variants and the concern, but I'm very optimistic. When I see that curve going down, that's really from vaccination, and that is showing that vaccine is working. We've already had some reported variants in the state, and they're not taking hold. That's my opinion, but we are not seeing this surge of new variants at this point, weeks after we've heard the first reports. So this is all very, very good news, and just really goes to show that we really need to get everybody vaccinated. Don't hesitate. This is our way out. The light at the tunnel is very close, and I'm very optimistic about the vaccination.